Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1683. Today we're going off-road, doing a little overland.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, with a very special guest by the name of Brent Lang. Hey, Brent, welcome to Cars Yeah, my friend. Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I'm absolutely ready. Let's do this.
We're going to have some fun. And when I say buckled up and ready for a fun ride with a guy like Brent, what his company builds, you can go on some very fun rides with, out into the country, into places where nobody can get to. And we'll learn about that in a minute. But first, Brent, I want you to share one little thing with our listeners that most people don't know about you.
Okay, well, that's a great question. Honestly, it's that I did not know exactly what industrial design was as a profession or career until I was at Auburn. I actually learned about it from in my history class from a guy named Eric Bird. He asked me what I was studying, and I told him mechanical engineering and that I wanted to design cars. He kind of laughed and shook his head at me and told me I should really look at industrial design. And so I wound up biking down to the industrial design building at Auburn and saw what they were doing project-wise, and I changed my major a week later, and the rest is history.
You know, this is pretty cool. My son was an industrial design major at Rhode Island School of Design.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, great school. And, when he said he wanted to go to school there, part of me said, what? Because he applied to all these other more normal schools, I'll call them. And I didn't know a lot about RISD. And when I started looking into it, I went, whoa, this is a pretty prestigious school. And I said, well, what are you going to do with an industrial design degree? And he said, I don't know, Dad, but it sounds really cool. And he's turned out to have an insanely cool career with Google. He's designing all sorts of neat interfaces between back-end hardware and front-end hardware, I should say, back-end software development. And just the stuff he got to do there, I kind of was jealous. Man, I wish I had done that for a college degree. Sounds like fun. A lot of work, but very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I'm excited about this. Let me give you a proper introduction, and we're going to dive into your life and what you do. So here we go. Brent Lang is the Vice President of Research and Design and partner with Storyteller Overland, a company that produces the best class RV adventure brands in the world. That's what I was talking about when we're going off-road. His life obsession with everything automotive began when he started fixing up a 1972 Car that his grandfather had imported from Germany. Those regular listeners will know that Car have a very special place in my heart. He became interested in industrial design, as he said, while studying mechanical engineering, and earned his master's in design management from Savannah College of Art and Design. He worked at McSweeney Designs, where they build custom-tailored vehicles, including VIP armored motorcades for foreign dignitaries and heads of state, and he was head of design for Coach Nick Saban. Am I saying the right? Saban's Signature Series?
That is correct. Coach Nick Saban.
Yeah, sprinters, before joining Storyteller Overland back in 2018. We'll be back in a minute to learn more about Brent, but first a word from our valued sponsors that make this show possible. Give them a listen. Hold on, we're going off-road. We're going to have an adventure today. Sit tight. Did you know Covercraft offers you much more than car covers, floor mats, seat covers, and trunk liners? When you visit covercraft.com, you'll find Cologne custom bras, LeBras front end covers, and hood protectors that protect your vehicle's front end while on a road trip. No more rock chips or hours removing nasty bug jerky from your grill and your paint. You'll find vehicle seat back organizers that keep everything in check, perfect for those kids in the back seat. Spidey gear webs that keeps cargo that's in your truck bed safely in place. Seat heaters, cargo bars, pro nets, rooftop carriers, bumper frames, bump steps, pet ramps, pet travel barriers to keep Fido in the back seat, tire covers, Carhartt backpacks, cooler bags, tote bags, tool bags, and zipper tote bags to keep everything secure. And don't forget their dash mat dashboard covers that shield the sun's damaging UV rays. Covercraft offers you an incredible list of solutions for your favorite rides. They're easy to install, easy to remove. Pet protection pads are easy to wash too and protect your floors and seats from Fido's damaging claws and messy fur and air. And here's something special from me here at Cars Yeah. If you use the code YEAH120 at checkout at covercraft.com, they'll give you 10% off on me. Covercraft.com. Go there and use the code YEAH120 at checkout for that 10% discount. Covercraft, they've got you covered. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for enthusiasts and collectors. It's your monthly must-read, whether you dream of owning a collector car, maybe you have two, or maybe you've got 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Here's a couple deals I have for you just for listening here on Cars Yeah. If you use the checkout code Cars Yeah, you'll receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription at Sports Car Market. That's an exclusive offer from Cars Yeah. And guess what? Here's another deal. If you'd like to get the actual magazine, use the code BSH for buy, sell, hold. That's code BSH, and you'll get $10 off your annual print subscription. That's right, $10 off. Both of these are exclusive offers here at Cars Yeah for Sports Car Market magazine. Just go to sportscarmarket.com and get your deals today. All right, Brent, we are back. And as we get started on this story that is your life, I'd love for you to share a success quote or a mantra. It's a nice way to get the tires turning in the dirt and mud here on Cars Yeah, since we're having some fun going off-road. So, Brent, take the wheel.
All right. So this was a pretty challenging thing to learn throughout life, but it's kind of it's an interesting way of looking at things. It is very easy to make something complex look ugly and extremely difficult to make something simple beautiful. This quote actually came from Tin Man Lau of Auburn University Industrial Design Program. And I was in Taiwan with them having a design discussion in regards to furniture design and automotive design. And I'll never forget that moment. I didn't fully understand it until I was working with BF Goodrich and Michelin as a mechanical designer. Good, simple, elegant solutions to problems or challenges are really fulfilling, and they're hard to get to. But there at BF Goodrich and Michelin, the French and American engineers that I got to work with, they were just absolutely masters in this way of thinking. I would sometimes provide a pretty complex solution, and then they would get out a red pen and they would essentially school me on the principle of keeping it simple. And that was really, really hard for me to learn. But it taught me how to look at things differently from a manufacturing, cost, and efficiency standpoint. That idea kind of morphs into its own little weird art form, if you will. But I love this quote because it plays into a minimalist design philosophy, which I'm kind of enamored with as we look to the future with reducing waste and cost and hopefully improving the overall efficiency of things.
This is very near and dear to my heart because I studied graphic design advertising in college, and my father was an architect and an artist. And so he exposed me to a lot of things in the world. And one thing he taught me was to really observe and to look at things. And there's a couple of things that come to mind. One, which you will know, Mies van der Rohe, the principle of less is more.
Yep,
which applies to exactly what you're saying. And another one, which is a great quote I love, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing left to add, but there is nothing left to take away.
Yes, exactly.
Which goes to what you just said. So let me ask you this. When you're working in your current career at Storyteller Overland, how do you apply those principles to a vehicle that has to do some pretty special things than a normal on-the-road vehicle has to do?
Well, when we approach design for the vehicle, typically this is a vehicle that you can essentially live with off grid, right? Mm-hmm. So the way that we kind of funnel things down is that we look at the specific application of what we want this area of the vehicle to do, because you have to remember we're dealing with a sleeping area, we're dealing with a shower area or a bathroom area, or a space for you to store your equipment and stuff like that. So typically how we look at we try and provide the simplest solutions in ways of doing things so that it's not overly operatic to accomplish the simple task. We also look at it specifically how we lay things out and how users actually engage with the interior of the vehicle. So we've actually developed a chair that actually has been pull tested, where we have levers that actually configure this automotive seat into a bed, which is pretty cool. So in 2 seconds, with 2 little levers or 3 little levers, you can make this into a full bed. But it's also been pull tested to meet FMVSS standards. So again, it's something that is very, very simple, but is also it is complex in a certain sense because of the amount of forces it has to withstand. This can also apply to the structure and how that seat is actually able to hold all that weight.
It's very cool. Now, do you guys do a lot of actual, you probably have a term for this in your profession, but on the scene testing, let's say going out into the rough with your vehicles, with people that typically do that kind of thing, and then watching how they interact with the vehicle and the different components, how they store things, how they use things, so that you can keep improving in a real world sense?
Yes, we do have, there's a little bit of contextual research. There's also some first world experience. One of our partners here, Adam Donaldson, is our testing guru here. I'm sure you've heard about the guy at Ferrari that gets to beat up on Ferraris and break them. Well, we have Adam Donaldson, and there's not a better person in this world than him. He's a dear friend of mine. He was actually the best man in my wedding.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he's a guy that goes out and gets to test these things. He's our head of testing and systems integration. He does an absolutely fantastic job, but he will find the weakest link and report back and make us the best that we can be.
Absolutely. Well, it's so important if somebody's going off grid and they're going to be somewhere far away from any kind of help. Last thing you want is something breaking, especially something serious that leaves you stuck. So let me ask you this. If I'm interested, and I mentioned to Brent in our pre-show chat that a good friend of mine is having a vehicle like this built for him right now. And this is the first time he's ever had something like this. So if a newbie like me, and I say, you know what, I'm ready to go off grid. I want to get away from it all. 2020 has just been a disaster. I don't want to be around anything anymore, but I do want to have some luxuries because otherwise my wife will not go with me if she doesn't have a bathroom or shower, or if we have a place to cook or sleep and things like that. So when I come to you, what's the process that you go through with your potential clients to give them the best build? Because are all of your vehicles bespoke, or do you have vehicles you build that are just waiting for customers?
Typically, the way that things are done here at Storyteller is that we build the mode 4x4, and that comes in your classic standard version, and it also comes up in an upgraded version, which is called the Beast mode. And that's got.
Wait a minute, I think that's trademarked by the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm not aware of that one, but the Beast mode has got all the fixins. So it's got the custom ride improvement, suspension, and all that good stuff. So what we do is that we are an RVIA certified vehicle manufacturer. And that means that everything that we build and put in these vehicles is built up to code. So this isn't necessarily a custom one-off. So that includes any of the electrical system, any of the plumbing, that all has to meet a national standard. Mm-hmm. So essentially, since we're RVIA certified, we have dealers across the nation right now, primarily on the West Coast, and there'll be some more coming online soon on the East Coast. But you go to an RV dealer and you're able to purchase one of these vehicles. So we have a standard version of the mode. This is not a custom vehicle by any sense. Everything is very, very standardized. The way that this thing becomes a custom vehicle is when the person or the end user is going to purchase this, and this is a canvas for you. Okay, this is, if you're really, really passionate about photography, you can kit it out exactly how you want to go do those really, really cool photography events. Or, if you're a fly fishing person, or if you're a skier, or if you're a mountain biker, or if you're a guy that wants to, pull a race car behind it, you can go to the track and have, blast and then load everything back up. That's typically how we see our mode 4x4 out in the wild and how it's actually distributed to people.
I love it. Out in the wild. Out in the wild. Well, that's where you take people, or you allow people to go. So I think it's really, really, really cool what you're doing. And having played around on your website, it was so much fun. You start to dream and you start to realize, man, this is something I never thought I might be interested in, but this looks pretty cool. Now, when I look at how things have gone this year with 2020 and all the challenges, but I hear that this segment of the market, travel trailers, motorhomes, motor coaches, even in the sense of vehicle sales, many more people are just deciding to go on road trips. They don't want to travel. They don't want to be in airplanes with people. They don't want to risk getting sick. And that industry has been pretty robust for a pretty challenging year. Is that what you guys are experiencing?
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. In terms of sales right now, the Beast mode is already currently sold out for the rest of the year, which that's fantastic. We're very pleased with that. We've got copious amounts of pre-orders already with deposits down. It's doing very well. But what we are seeing is that people do want to get out. They do want to experience this adventure. This is a much quote-unquote safer way to do that. We're definitely seeing that in the marketplace.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. I always like to talk a bit about a big challenge people face in their lives, and it's really more about the learning lesson and how they overcame that. that. So walk us through a time in your life when things were a bit challenging, maybe even a big failure. Again, more importantly, tell us how that experience helped you gain even more momentum in your life and your career as you moved out of it.
Okay, so I gotta say the biggest challenge that I faced was getting into the automotive design industry, period, let alone in Alabama. And I think it's probably one of the most challenging fields to get into because there's so much competition, and they are typically located in major cities like LA, New York, or the Michigan area. So it's typically where you've got to go to be a part of automotive design. So I was extremely fortunate enough to get my start by being offered a design position with Southern Comfort Automotive and McSweeney Designs in Alabama, and specifically into the specialty vehicle manufacturing. A lot of people don't know about the SVM industry. Everyone sees, GM, Ford, Dodge, all that stuff, those designers. But, there's a whole nother segment of the industry that is supporting those things that the original manufacturers it's not a part of their business model. So in all honesty, truth be told, it wasn't one single thing or way I did something that made that opportunity to present itself. I had some 5 or 10 unsuccessful interviews. And with my last interview, the staffing agency, they actually liked me enough to introduce me to SCA as a potential designer candidate. And the next thing I knew, I was working with a team to cut off a factory roof on a brand new Escalade to put a raised armored roof on.
Oh my gosh.
So no, that's pretty interesting. Hey guys, let's bring in the $60,000 to $70,000 vehicle. Let's get the Sawzall. Let's do
pieces.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, we got to put tape. We got to make sure everything's taped off. So I guess from all of this, sometimes you have to fail enough for it to just finally work and be where you need to be at the right time. But I think that true failure is giving up.
Yes. Those are incredible words you just said right there. You just don't give up. You just keep going. And I've talked to so many people now, 1,683, and that is you have to be persistent, tenacious. And you said something, 5 to 10 interviews before it happened. And you just have to keep the faith, keep going, and look where you've ended up. And look at how this transition has led you to where you are now. It's just absolutely fabulous. It's a wonderful story. So really proud of where you've gone and what you've done, Brent. This is really fun. Yeah. And you're working and living in the dream that you had going way back to that day you bicycled over to industrial design. Aren't you happy you did that?
Yeah, I did. There was a little bit of resistance from that from my family members, but ultimately they were supportive of me, and it's the best decision. It's also one of the hardest decisions I've ever made.
Well, obviously you made the right one. I think it was the same my son said when he said, I got accepted to RISD. I want to go there. I went, yeah. What?
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize design school is extremely tough.
Yeah. Oh,
everyone thinks, you just draw pretty pictures. No, you don't.
He said something to me. Now, RISD is right next door to Brown University, and they share a lot of classes. So my son took a lot of classes at Brown. He took engineering there. He took English. In fact, he ended up being an English tutor for master's program at Brown for students who were foreign students who had English as a second language, because his English teacher said, you're really good at this. I'd like you to stay. And he ended up staying one summer, and he got paid to be a tutor to help these folks. But he said, Dad, late night, if you see lights on in rooms at RISD, it's students working. If you see lights on late night at Brown, they're partying. And Brown's a pretty prestigious school as well. So yeah, he said, I've never worked so hard in my life to do the right thing, but it was a wonderful stepping stone for him. And I'm very proud of how he made it through that school and met the woman that ended up being his wife, and life is good. So that's pretty cool. We're going to take a short break. We're going to thank our sponsors. We come back, we're going to dive into Brent's personal passion for cars. I think we might be talking a little bit about a Carmagia as well. So keep your seatbelt on. We're still going off-road. We'll be right back. When it was time to renew my last policy for my collector car, my carrier's rates went up. They went way up. But my usage was the same, and I never had made a claim. No tickets, nothing. What's with that? American Collectors Insurance. That's who now protects my Porsche Turbo, the one I call my Orange Crush. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? I was too. So I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, am I glad I did. I'm saving hundreds of dollars. I can sleep at night knowing my baby is properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provide me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by a history of taking care of their clients. What could be better than that? Give them a call for a quote today at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-8255. 9324 and protect the ones you love like I did. American Collectors Insurance, classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. So what do you do after running a race team for 27 years with over 100 podiums, multiple Daytona wins, and a win at Le Mans? Well, if you're a racer and the Racers Group team owner Kevin Buckler, you found Adobe Road Winery. Located in Petaluma, California, he and his team have created a winning combination with the Racing Series, 4 ultra-premium red wine blends that are in a class of their own. Like racing, these wines comprise of art, precision, engineering, science, all wrapped in a whole lot of fun. You can choose from 4 blends titled Redline, Apex, Shift, and the 24. Today I'm going to talk about the 24. This wine earned 91 plus points from Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. It's a dark, spicy, and velvety blend with ripe blue and black fruits and very smooth tannins. The label features a 3-dimensional full metal chronograph in a bright gold finish that pays homage to the Daytona Rolex winners receive at Le Mans. The Racing Series is a fantastic gift for the ultimate enthusiast in your life. And I've got a deal for you today. If you use the code CARS, all one word, all in caps, when you're at the AdobeRoadWinery.com checkout, you get $10 off any purchase of wines from the Racing Series. Your wine ships promptly and arrives quickly right at your door. Use the code CARS at checkout to get $10 off your purchase of the Racing Series today. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the Racing Series. Go to Adobe Road Wines today and use the code CARS at checkout. Cheers! Let's step away from the conversation and talk about our charity of choice here at Cars America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits that are working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through auto-related events, car shows, and drives. Among these nonprofits is TechForce Foundation, a great organization dedicated to solving the technician shortage that threatens the transportation industry today. By providing career development resources and increasing awareness and enthusiasm for the tech profession, TechForce is bringing bright young students into the auto, diesel, aviation, marine, motorcycle, motorsports, and restoration worlds. To date, they've awarded more than $10 million in scholarships and grants to tech students. And in times like these, I don't have to tell you how essential those techs are, keeping our delivery and emergency vehicles running and keeping America rolling. To learn more about TechForce or to make a donation to this cause, visit www.techforce.org. You'll be glad you did. All right, we're back. Brent, I'd love for you to share a story that instigated this personal passion you have for cars, that pivotal moment when you knew that you were indeed a car guy.
Okay, so that was probably the first time I got to drive the Carmen Ghia. So the vehicle actually had sat in my parents' garage for quite some time, and it honestly needed an overall go-through restoration. So I actually wound up swapping it from an automatic or auto stick transmission to a manual at about 17 years of age, and I had a friend rebuild the engine.
So it was a Sportomatic?
It was, and the vacuum powered system on there was not something to write home about.
No.
So, but at the factory, they had actually already included the clutch Bowden tube, so I was actually able to put in a manual transmission and didn't have to worry about that. But what was funny about that is I actually understood and read more about the vehicle, but I didn't actually know how to drive manual at the time. So I knew how it works mechanically, but the feel of the clutch and how to feather the gas and all those things working together, I had no idea. It was very frustrating. So, but as I was leaving the driveway, one of the automatic transmission wires that was like a signal wire, which was unplugged, it actually grounded out. And then I learned about the white magic smoke and what an electrical fire smells like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yep. Yeah, you could have lost the car.
Yeah, so I stopped the car, we popped the hood, there's smoke billowing out, and I just kind of let it sit there for a second. I don't know if I was in tears at that point, but I mean, because so much money, so much time, blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
But the wires were fried and everything kind of settled down, and then I got back in the car and turned it on and everything was fine. So it was kind of that at that point, you have true passion when you can see through and overcome the speed bumps. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, man, an old Volkswagen, you're going to get some speed bumps in that thing.
No kidding. Yeah, I drove my Ghia for many years, so I know what it's all about. Now, this is a car your grandfather found in Germany and came back to the U.S. with, right?
Yeah. So he actually took a second honeymoon with his wife, my Oma. They went in and actually purchased the car. He actually went for the blood orange because he wanted to be able to be seen. And they went ahead and toured through Europe. Now, what's interesting is my grandfather actually had polio, and that's why he actually went for the automatic transmission.
Okay, yeah.
Because he had some leg issues. That kind of really helped that out. But it actually came back. He actually imported it back into Louisiana, I think through New Orleans, and then drove it around, and then was actually a wedding present to my parents.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then I'd spent the majority of high school going through the whole thing. Like that car taught me everything I needed to know about cars, every major vehicle system, hydraulic systems, electrical systems, as I just told you, and how they work or don't work. And also, engines and stuff like that. So it was a really good learning experience. I learned so much on that car. I'm very thankful for it. We still have it today.
Well, of course, you can't let a car like that go. That's in the family forever. Now, I have to ask, and I'm guessing I know the answer. Did you have the How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive book by Muir?
By Muir? Yeah. No, I did not have that book. No, I did not have John Muir's book. I had the Bentley manual.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably even better.
Here's the thing. I actually slept with that next to my bed. And before I'd go to bed at night, I would read about, how to replace ball joints or, what the correct lashing for whatever, clearance you needed or what have you. And so that's what I would literally read at night.
Wow. Well, I still have my Yearbook. It's just full of greasy fingerprints. Of course, it's a famous book. The rest of that, How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive, a manual of step-by-step procedures for the complete idiot.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was one of the first for the complete idiot books ever written. Now they're written about everything, right? So yeah. How fun. Well, I think you already answered my next question. First really special car. It has to be that 72 Ghia.
Yeah, it is. It was it's really I don't know. I've shared so many memories in that car. I actually drove all the way from Auburn all the way down to with some very, very good friends in college that now work at Disney to a show down in Orlando area. And it was it was a fantastic vehicle. It's kind of funny. People don't realize, cars now, they don't smell like they used to. Just the heat, it was just a wild ride.
Well, I drove my Ghia so often. I used to drive it from San Diego to Mammoth Mountain to go skiing several times. And that's normally in a normal car, about an 8-hour drive.
Right.
Because it's a long way. And I took that car many, many times. It was great in the snow, but it was a bit of a long drive, especially with the special exhaust I had and the modified engine, kind of loud. You'd get there and your hearing would kind of be severely damaged.
It'd ring a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But I loved it. I thought I was the coolest guy with skis on that thing and driving across the high desert in California, heading up to Mammoth Mountain to go skiing. Well, here's a bit of an introspective question for you, Brent. I'm going to crawl into your skull a little bit here. If you woke up tomorrow and you were manifest as a vehicle, this isn't what you want to be. This is how you perceive your attributes into a vehicle. What would Brent Lang be? And more importantly, why?
Okay, so I'm going to have to say I would probably be a Mercedes W123 300 TD, which is the estate or the wagon version. I'd say this car, because of reliability and comfort, but also practicality and frugalness, even though it's a luxury car. I'm pretty approachable as a person in manner and appearance, kind of like the W123 series is. It's very approachable in terms of design language and how it handles decently for its build. Also, a 300 TD is honest. It's not pretentious or pretending to be something it's not, but it gets you there and gets you home. It's also aged well design-wise, considering I'm of the same vintage as that car. So that would probably be my answer there.
There's a guest I've had on the show by the name of J.G. Francis. He owns Mercedes Motoring in Glendale, California. And they take very well-loved old 70s and 80s Mercedes. They make them even better. They don't do full restorations because they find cars that have been well cared for, sometimes low-mileage cars. But when I was at his shop, he had the most beautiful cars. And I'll tell you the ones that I like the most were the cars that are you. And that is the wagons. And they're just, I remember as a kid, parents that had these Mercedes wagons, 300 TDs, the diesels, or even the gas cars. And I think they also made like a 280 version of that, the late 70s, I believe.
Yep.
And they're just bulletproof.
Yes.
And they're not pretentious. Even back then, they might have been. But today, Mercedes has a different kind of deal. They're hand-built cars, solid. I think you thought that one through pretty well, Brent.
Well, thank you. Yeah, anything down from, and I love the turbo diesel engine. I mean, I've got a 300 GD. It's a W460. It's a Geländewagen.
Oh, nice.
That actually has the OM617, which that car is essentially very, very well known for.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I mean, they're just brilliant and wonderful cars.
Yeah. Perfect. Nice way to answer that question. All right, we're entering the last lap. I'm going to fire off some questions. Have you give me some quick blips of that Mercedes 300 TD wagon throttle? If you can do that on a 300 TD.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you just kind of chug along. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes in life?
Get good sleep, exercise, and eat healthy, because it's amazing how much more effective as a person you are when you take care of yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if I could arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would it be?
I'm going to have to say Chris Bangle. His depth as a person is it's beyond just car design, and he's just absolutely fascinating and captivating and inspiring.
Well, you're now a Cars Yeah alumni with Chris, because he's been a guest on the show here. So you'll have to go back and find his show. It's been a couple of years since I spoke to him. He had long left BMW, but we talked a lot about that. And of course, there's that whole period where some people loved him or hated him.
Right.
His design. I won't say him because it wasn't him. But yeah, I find him fascinating. And some of the things he's been involved in since in the world of design outside of automotive have been really, really spectacular. So you'll have to go back and listen to my talk with him. I really love talking with him. Now, how about a resource? Is there one that's a go-to for you that you'd like to share you think our listeners would enjoy?
Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. It's for men's health, suicide prevention, and prostate cancer awareness. My wife and I actually photograph for the Birmingham, Alabama event under Chris Hartman, and we really, really enjoy it. It's something that we actually drive a Miata around, take pictures of individuals, but it's a charity event to raise money for that.
Oh, how nice. Well, that's fantastic. I'll make sure to put a link to that on Brent's show notes page. Check it out. Now, is there a book you've read you think our listeners should read?
I was going to have to recommend that Volkswagen Service Manual by Bentley Publishing.
Yeah.
It'll teach you how to rebuild a whole Volkswagen and make you question why things are so complicated now.
I'll make sure I put a link. Yeah, Bentley, I mean, they have so many. I've had many of their manuals for the different cars I've owned. And what a valuable resource for a guy. I'm not the most technical guy when it comes to working on cars, but I figured out a lot of stuff. And you feel so proud, don't you, when you fix something?
Oh, yeah. No, there's not a better feeling in this whole entire world of fixing something that's broken. I really do enjoy that.
Absolutely. All right. We are up to the checkered flag here, Brent. It's kind of a fun day for you. I'm going to buy you a very cool collector car. Anything in the world, and I'm going to park it in your garage. But my regular listeners know the rules to the game here. You can't sell it to buy a bunch of other toys with. It's a keeper. I want it to be a driver, but it's the only one collectible car you can own. So it needs to tick a lot of boxes. Now, I'm going to remove the Ghia from this equation because otherwise it's too easy for you to say, sorry, I'm keeping my Ghia. But because of the grandfather relationship, I cut a few of my guests a little bit of slack here. So I'm going to do that for you today. So let's park that in the back. We'll pretend it doesn't exist right now. What am I going to buy for Brent Lang today? And more importantly, why?
It's really hyper specific. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
It's a 1981 Mercedes Unimog Dalka 416 double cab 4x4 Resto Mod.
Oh my God. Okay, you are one unique guy, Brent. Nobody's asked for a Unimog, and I know what those are, but you have even some more very specific numbers you just tossed out at me. Okay, my friend, I kind of get it. Off-road, you work in that industry in Storyteller Overland, so that makes sense. Unimogs can go anywhere. I mean anywhere, but they are kind of, how do I describe a Unimog to somebody who goes, what does he want? So you got to tell us why.
Just because I'd really, well, and that's why I said Resto Mod. I mean, they're not the most practical vehicles. I'd love for it to have a highway gear and then a crawler gear with an automatic transmission. But honestly, it's they're really just fascinating vehicles. They're huge. They're also one of those vehicles that's kind of so ugly it's cute. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
But I love the way that they look. That the design language for Mercedes at that time is just, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Yeah. And having like a rear PTO for doing farm equipment and stuff. And it would probably honestly, it would probably honestly tow a Miata pretty well. It would probably tow a Miata. So
yeah, I think so. Well, that's a very unique answer to that question. I get some unique ones, but that's got to be up there in the top 10 for sure. You're going to, now this is probably going to have to come with a special garage because those things are tall.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I got to buy you a garage too. Oh, well.
There we go. I'll settle for that.
Yeah, I bet you would. Well, I think that's a great answer. And especially considering what you do there at Storyteller Overland. Tell our listeners, actually, before we go into that, I would love a great parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you drive off into the hills with the family in that 81 Unimog.
So just parting words, not to sound like a broken record, but the best solutions are usually the simplest. If you have an issue, try to look for the smaller issues and solve them or diagnose them first. Kind of the idea of Occam's razor here, but definitely look for those simple solutions first. Never jump to the conclusion that it's the big, hairy, scary problem.
Yeah, it's almost always the simple stuff. And every time in my life that I've chased my tail over stuff when I've gone to the more complicated, it's ended up being the most simple thing that you could possibly fix after night of trying to pull my hair out, and I've got no hair to pull out, so that makes it really hard. So tell our listeners, where can they go and learn more about Storyteller Overland and you?
Okay, so you can read about Storyteller Overland and the mode 4x4, as well as the beast mode on storytelleroverland.com. And the company's Instagram is at Storyteller Overland. And I have an Instagram account, and it's at Brent__Lang. And that's where I post up pictures of my adventures and sometimes van-related stuff and G-Wagon stuff and stuff like that.
Very cool. Now, I have to ask, where did Storyteller... I get the Overland, but Storyteller, how did they come up with the name?
Okay, so here's the thing. It's not about the van. It's what you do in the van, right? It's about telling better stories. It's about adventure, living free, and exploring endlessly. That's what Storyteller is about. It's
a wonderful name, and it just depicts wonderful things like what you just said. I'll tell you, listeners, if you guys are at a point in your life when you want to go out and have some adventures and you want to do it in the right way, Storyteller Overland is the answer for you. You can find everything that Brent has shared today on his Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Brent Lang, L-A-N-G. His page will pop up. Easy to find, Storyteller Overland. Check them out. Follow them. I think they might make some new dreams and maybe give you a different perspective on life, which is kind of a fun thing as well. Brent, thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your amazing life story with me today. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you so much. It was a true honor.
Oh, my pleasure's all mine. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.